Good morning, everybody. Welcome to BoqueteNOW, talk radio, coming at you live on Radio Cherokee 103.3 FM. We are sponsored by Big Daddy's Grill, Boulder 54 in the Tap Out Sport Zone. All restaurants that we love in town here. Big Daddy's is open, by the way, so go check them out, man. There are conditions, obviously, but we're really happy to see our restaurants and businesses opening here in town. As you know, today we have a special show. We're going to be talking about the Trump-Biden debate. Who do you think won? What do you think was true? What do you think wasn't true? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Will you watch the next one? This is an open mic live call-in discussion, by the way, and we're going to get started here in a minute. I want to go over a few things first, but jot the number down. It's 6729-5729, and when I'm done reading my news, we'll start taking some phone calls here. You could also listen live on the Radio Garden app or the TuneIn app if you happen to have those on your phone. Now, as you probably know, and before we get started on our show today, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump were tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday, and the Associated Press has reported that he has mild symptoms. He is experiencing mild symptoms. This was revealed very early this morning, and they are beginning their quarantine process from the White House. Trump's diagnosis was it's sure to have some sort of an effect in Washington and around the world. There are going to be questions raised about how far the virus has spread and through the high levels of the U.S. government. There have been a lot of people that have been in contact with the president and the first lady over the last few days or so. They don't know really how extensive the outbreak is going to be. Everyone's being tested. Takes a few days to get those tests back, from all those people, even if they all have rapid tests. It's going to take a little while. Trump, who is 74 years old, he's clinically classified as obese. So his, I guess you would call his possibility of this virus getting very serious is roughly about 4%, which is significantly higher than, those of us. Well, not those of us, but those who are a lot healthier. So we had a debate the other day, and it didn't go, I guess, the way everybody had planned for it to go. There's been a lot of talk on the Boquete pages. There's a lot of expats here. There's a lot of us here that are following the election. There's a lot of people here who have, pretty strong opinions about how Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden handled themselves, about the things that they talked about. There were supposed to be 6 talking points, for this, and I don't really believe they got to all of them. They were supposed to be the President Trump and Vice President Biden's past records. They were going to be discussing the Supreme Court, which they did get to. COVID-19, which they did get to. They touched on the economy briefly. They tried to address race and violence in American cities, in the United States cities. That kind of went off the rails. And the general integrity of the election. These questions were put forth by Chris Wallace. And, if you didn't see the debate, I mean, you can watch it. You can watch it pretty much anywhere you want. YouTube, whatever. And it was different. Okay, it didn't quite go the way we had planned. So if you got something to say, give us a call. I think we have a caller now. We got a caller on the phone? Not ready? Okay. 6729-5729. We're talking about the Trump-Biden debate here today. Again, we're gonna cover as much as we can. But who do you think won? What do you think was true? What do you think wasn't true? Did you think the debate deserved a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Are you planning to watch the next presidential debate, or are you planning to watch the debate between Kamala Harris and Vice President Pence coming up next Tuesday? Again, if you're listening live on Radio Cherokee here, 103.3 FM, wonderful, thank you very much. But you could also listen to the show on the Radio Garden or TuneIn radio apps. Those are free to download.
Also, there is our YouTube page. There's live right now, so you can watch it also through YouTube. search for Radio Chiriquí Boquete.
And that was Bolivar, by the way, our esteemed engineer. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, you can listen to the show in many, many places. Now I know that when I posted this a couple of days ago on Facebook, that there were a lot of you who were expressing an interest in calling and giving us your opinion. You don't have to use your real name. We're not going to censor you, except for language, of course, because it's a family show, what have you. But we would really like to hear from you, and we would like to find out, what you think about, how it went. I know this is a kind of a polarizing issue, and I would like to hear from everybody. I don't want this to end up being a bash fest by Democrats, and I don't want it to be a completely monopolized by Republicans. I would like really to hear from everybody. So. Give us a call. It's 672-95729. That's WhatsApp, by the way. Don't call in direct on the phone. We do not have those capabilities set up. We have a phone plugged right into the board. So if you call WhatsApp, you can let us know, what it is that you want. It was really interesting, when I was watching this, and I did watch the whole thing. And from a point of view of someone who's just looking for information, and that's pretty much what I do when I watch debates. I don't. I try to avoid, giving judgments on personal character and whatnot. That's basically just the way I've always done things with the news. And it occurred to me that when Mr. Trump was trying to get a point across, he was also being interrupted. And I know some of you are going to get angry at that, and I'm sorry about that, but I did watch the whole debate, so I know that it's really easy to say, well, Mr. Trump did all the interrupting. It didn't go very well. I don't think really that the two individuals there, President Trump and Vice President Biden, really got an opportunity to really address a lot of the things that we would really have liked to have heard. And that's, I think, the thing that kind of disappointed me most about it. It wasn't really necessarily the name calling or the shouting. I think we all kind of expected that. It was the fact that I was trying to really, really wanted to get information. I wanted to get their positions on things. And even if it's not going to affect the way you personally vote, it's still kind of important to know where these two gentlemen stand on these issues. So that's something that was disappointing to me. As I said, you given the rhetoric that's been going on between these two guys over the last couple of months, I don't think anybody really expected it to be completely and totally civil, as it were. I think we all kind of expected some sort of a train wreck or a dumpster fire or however you want to call it. But the main thing is I think we all kind of lost because we weren't informed. And I've watched a lot of debates over the years, and the most important aspect of these, especially at this stage of the game where you actually have the two nominees, you don't have 20, 30 people up there, is finding out, instead of what this person did in their past or what that person did in their past, is, what happens going forward from here? Where do we go if President Trump gets reelected? Where do we go if Vice President Biden gets reelected? And the reason why these debates are so important is you've got, I guess maybe a dozen, at least a dozen, maybe 18 major mainstream news outlets that are covering both candidates. And each of the reporters or the reporting staff kind of have a little bit of a different angle on things. And this is normal. This has been going on this way in the news business for as long as I can remember. You have quotes, 30-second sound bites. You have sometimes things are taken out of context, sometimes intentionally, sometimes it's just a lack of space or a lack of time, and you got to kind of grab onto what it is that you think is gonna be most important. But with the debates, This is supposed to be an opportunity for each of the two candidates to answer questions and answer the responses from each other on specific issues. And issues like the Supreme Court are very important. As that's going to affect everybody one way or the other for generations, especially given the fact that this newest person is quite young comparatively. I think she's in her late 40s, early 50s. It escapes me. But to not be able to get the information that is really important on these topics. The economy is important. Look at all the businesses that have closed. And you can lay blame on whoever you want about closing down the country. And there's 4 or 5 major narratives going around about that. But the simple fact is that the people who had to shut down their businesses were affected financially. They were affected mentally, emotionally. The people who worked for them lost jobs. And going around and laying blame at this point of the game isn't really 100% productive, unless, of course, you're trying to advance your own agenda or your own narrative. But the fact that so many people have lost their businesses, so many people have lost their livelihood, the stimulus payments for small businesses ran out, record numbers of bankruptcies. So and I know that we're sitting here, we're far away from it. We're thousands and thousands of miles away, and it's very easy just to scroll through social media and say, hey, this really is terrible, but, my life here is pretty good. And by and large, for most of us, it is. For a lot of us expats here, we have income, guaranteed income coming in, whether we have 401k plans or Social Security or disability or annuities or whatever. And it's really easy to lose sight of what it's like to not know when your money's coming in. When your mortgage comes due, when your rent comes due, when your car payments come due, when you have to put food on the table, when you have to get medication. So not finding out directly, such as it is from the horse's mouth, about what are you going to do about this? How are you, if you were elected president, how are you going to move forward and get past everything that makes up what running for office is, all the commercials and all the rhetoric and all the blame, laying of blame and all of that. When everything is done and the votes are tallied and January comes around and whoever's going to win is going to be in that office, we really need to know what your plans are. Not that you have a plan. That's something that we hear all the time. Well, I have a plan. Thank you very much. I understand you have a plan. Or my plan is to create more jobs. Or my plan is, to do something. And although, during the process of running for office, those 30-second sound bites or 10-second sound bites, or the ads that they could, put out, yeah, you don't have a whole lot of time to put a whole lot in there. But, I got to tell you, really, that's what these debates have always been for. They've always been an opportunity for the candidates to act in a civil manner and explain to us, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is why I did this in the case of an incumbent. Why did you choose this person for the Supreme Court? Why did you make this happen in this agency? How come you reduce the number of refugees coming in? There's a million questions that can be asked. And I think, and I really hate, to steal the words from Chris Wallace, but this genuinely was a lost opportunity. I don't think anybody won, and I have to say that the plans that the Presidential Debate Committee, I think that's the name of it, again, it escapes me, to make changes in order to alleviate the problems that were inherent at the last debate. Again, the interruptions and the yelling and the name calling and all of that. You hate to see that happen. It really shouldn't happen. Something like that really shouldn't ever happen, where you have to censor, basically, and that's what it is, a presidential candidate at a debate. Don't matter what side it's on. It should never happen. But the fact that they are doing it at least gives me a little hope, that maybe the next one, they won't have to turn anyone's mic off. They won't have to... Some of the memes out there, I gotta say, they're funny. There's one circulating around that's got a table full of things like, air horns and mute buttons and whips and all kinds of things. But, in all seriousness, though, I think really, from my point of view, and this is the point of view of someone who's been in the news business for 4 decades, we could have done a lot better with this. I think we could have done a lot better. Even if you only saw a piece of it. It was difficult to hear the answers. It was very difficult to hear the answers whenever answers were given. I thought Chris Wallace would have done a better job, and I don't know the circumstances behind it. I don't know what led up to it. I don't know what restrictions he had on himself. Really, none of us know that yet, and I'm sure as time goes by, it'll come out. But he lost control within the first 5 minutes. And, I've never, I guess the word would be officiated a debate before. So I don't know exactly what it is that, he would have to do or what he could have done. I have debated before many, many, many times over the years. And it's always been the same protocol for every debate, from a high school debate club all the way up to a presidential election. Keep it civil, let the other person speak, address the issues, and get it over with. As it is, it's 90 minutes out of our lives that we have to deal with. We really, really want to hear from you. 6729-5729. I know that I got a lot of messages yesterday when I posted my little graphic, my promo graphic, that people who were planning to call in, they had opinions, they promised to behave, they promised to use their common sense, they promised all kinds of things, and I'm really, really, would really like to hear from you, and everybody else would like to hear from you. It doesn't have to get, we don't have to lose our civility here, but this is kind of important, Panama is inextricably tied to the United States, has been for generations, and what happens there does affect us here, especially if you're a retiree here and your income is based on the economy or the stock market. Now, I am getting some text here from people, and that's very helpful with questions. I would like for you all to call in if you can, but if you want to text some questions, you can always text them to WhatsApp. One of the questions I got was, do you think COVID-19 is going to be excuse me?
We have a call.
We have a call. All right. Hello,
Hello,
caller.
good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I've been listening to you talk about, whether the moderator lost control. And I know a lot of people have been saying that they wish he would have had a mute button.
Right.
The problem with the mute button is that the audience, the listening public, the watching public, would not hear what was being said, but both people that are debating would be hearing it, and it would still be a terrible distraction. So I don't think a mute button would be the answer to keep a debater under control. And I don't think he had, when you've got the President of the United States up there and you respect that office, it's very hard to tell him to shut up.
Well, yes. And you know what?
The same thing with Biden. Biden, of course, also interrupted, not nearly as much as Trump did, not even close to it. But it's a difficult thing to control when someone does not want to be controlled, and they are the President of the United States.
Yeah. And you made a very good point there about from our point of view, from those of us who are sitting behind our TVs or our computers or our phones watching the debate. it might seem like a good idea to hit a mute button, but like you said, in real time, there's a conversation going on, and it wouldn't really change what we would hear on our end from the other person. We just basically be hearing one side. Is that what you're trying to say? We'd only be hearing one side of an argument instead of both?
Well, yeah, you wouldn't hear person A talking over person B, but you could see person B reacting or replying. So
Right.
it would be totally discombobulated, I guess would be the word.
No, that's a good word. That's one of my favorite words. Yeah, that's a very good
It's one
point.
of my 25-cent ones.
Yeah. So what? Let me ask you: what if a mute button isn't the a good solution? And again, you made a fantastic point of why it wouldn't be. I hadn't even thought about that. What do you think, in your opinion, should be done if the people who are debating each other are incapable or just really don't want to control themselves? What do you think should be? What do you think should be done?
Right now, I think this might be a mute subject of the future debate, because I don't think we're going to see this next debate. Not with the president in quarantine, not with the president sick with COVID. I doubt very much that he's going to recuperate and be in a position to be in a debate in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it would be a really close call, because if you're just starting your 2-week your 2-week quarantine today, that doesn't give
we don't know how sick he's going to get.
That's right. He's starting to show some mild symptoms, but as we know,
well, I'm not sure that being lethargic on Thursday before he was even tested positive or while he was being tested positive, I'm not sure lethargic is exactly a mild symptom.
No, it's not. And again, given his age and his physical condition, his own physician, his own White House physician, had said that he is at a much higher risk, statistically, of getting worse. So,
correct.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
He is obese and he's in his 70s.
He's in his 70s,
and he's a man.
Yeah,
and
that's
he's
true
a man.
too. Yeah.
And all three of those do not bode well for him.
No, they do not. It would be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out over the next several weeks or so.
And it's also going to be interesting to see what Biden's test comes back as, because they were 6 feet apart, but they were indoors, and there was a lot of shouting going on, and shouting spreads further.
It does.
So
it certainly does. Yeah, and we only saw a small part of that. If you've ever been behind the scenes or seen behind the scenes of a presidential debate, even without the audience there, even without all the supporters and signs and all that, the number of people that are on the staff that are there and the number of people that are on the production crew, for two people, there's probably 50 or 60 people in that room, with various, responsibilities.
And then you have the audience. And remember, Melania was also positive, and she was sitting in the audience.
Yeah.
So we don't know who in the audience may have been exposed. And if I'm not mistaken, at one point they were asked to put their masks back on and refused. And I've heard that a couple of times, but I'm not sure at which event that happened.
Well,
I'm not sure if that was at the event at the debate, or if that was at the fundraiser in New Jersey the following day.
Yeah. Well, you also have to understand too that the people who had traveled, and I have a little graphic here, which obviously you can't see because we're on the radio, but people who recently traveled with Hope Hicks, and recently they mean within the last 48 hours. In addition to Mr. and Mrs. Trump, you have.
But when you look at that graphic, Al, there's like 21 people on it, I believe.
Yeah, There's we got
and two of them didn't fly back with them and
right.
whatnot.
Jim
So,
Jordan didn't fly
but
back.
that's just people that traveled with them. What
Right.
about the people they were in contact with besides that? That could be another 50 people at
And
least.
it could be. And when you look at how this disease, this virus, transmits to one another, but yeah, Jim Jordan and Don Trump Jr. Didn't fly back; they stayed there. And there are a lot of names on this list that many people might not know, but there are a lot of names on this list that we know that have also gone about their lives talking to and contacting people. You have Rudy Giuliani, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, Kim Guilfoyle.
Giuliani right now is in quarantine, I believe.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten the latest. I haven't looked at the news in about an hour. But all of his kids and his stepkids.
Ivanka, the Ivana or whatever her name is, the daughter.
Yeah,
she's negative. And
she's
so
negative.
is her husband.
Yeah. And I'm going to be updating all of this later. But it's going to take days, really, for them to contact trace everybody. It's going to take quite a while for them to figure out the extent of this, I guess, mini outbreak, amongst the high levels of the White House.
And the international repercussions of this outbreak are immense.
Yeah.
It's not just, this is our government. And whether you are pro or con on the president, he's still the president.
Yeah.
And he's still the head of our military, and he's still the head of our government. Yeah. And to have him in any way incapacitated and unable to make decisions with under full health, and when you're not feeling good, you don't make great decisions.
No, you don't. And I know that there's advisors and all that, but look what happened look at the effect that happened when Boris Johnson got COVID, and he wasn't even really symptomatic. He was a little bit symptomatic, but that sent ripples of repercussions throughout the entire European Union, through Asia.
Yep.
And more so would be the repercussions worldwide if we.
Well, last I heard, our market, and probably international markets are falling right now.
Yeah, the markets aren't doing too well. They had experienced some very, very serious futures this morning. Before I hadn't looked at it before the market opened, but I looked at the futures this morning, and they didn't look very good. They didn't look very good at all. Again, I haven't had an opportunity to check into all that. But yeah, you're right. It's going to be. It isn't just going to affect the people who live in the United States. It's going to affect the world. And one of the reasons why I'm doing the show here in Panama, in Boquete, because people have asked what this has got to do with Boquete. The United States and Panama are inextricably tied together. And what's good for the United States is generally good for Panama. And what's bad for the United States is generally bad for Panama. So if you think that if the worst happens and we lose a president, like him or not, it's going to be devastating for the entire world, and it's going to affect Panama in a very negative way.
And think of the repercussions when we're in the middle of an election.
Yeah.
The country is in the middle of an election, and one of the candidates is now COVID positive, and we don't know what the outcome of that illness is going to be for him.
No,
and we won't know for a long time.
No, we will not. And again, like you said, like him or not,
has long-term effects on a lot of people.
Yeah. And so, and it really I've got to say this. It's kind of it's not kind of, it's actually disturbing to me when when I get onto Facebook, and obviously social media went nuts starting about 3:00 in the morning, where people are
actually about midnight.
Yeah, people are posting death wishes. Right? I hope he dies from this.
Not acceptable.
No, it's not acceptable, because whether you like President Trump or not, whether you agree with him or not, he is still, a living, breathing human being. He still has family. He has a young child. And if you've ever had a respiratory illness, no one deserves that, But outside of that,
he's the president of the United States.
Right, and it's the office that is going to be affected.
Exactly. Exactly. You have to respect the office of the president. You cannot wish death on the president of the United States. You don't want. This is not a country for. The U.S. is not and should not be, although it was once in my lifetime, a bullet presidency. You should not have it controlled by death.
No.
And it's certainly not death wished upon anyone. I'm sorry, no.
No, and it does, it really, seriously, we need to be better than that. I know that there's a lot of conversation going on about many different things, from, the mundane to outlandish conspiracy theories. When you have the president of the United States that has been infected with a potentially fatal disease, we need to take a step back and say, look, I don't like the guy, or I like the guy, or I don't agree with him, or I agree with him. Let's just hope for the sake of the country that we don't lose a president. I've lost a president in my lifetime. I know you have. And it's, like I said, the ramifications and the ripple effect of losing a leader, especially a U.S. president, does not warrant you to, just because you don't like the guy, wishing that he drops dead. I'm sorry, I can't wrap my head around it.
And I could not agree with you more. I will admit that he's not my favorite president. I'll admit that, but he's still the president of the United States, and he still deserves the respect of the office.
And I think that's gotten away from a lot of people, separating the man who sits in that behind the resolute desk and the actual office of the presidency.
What really surprises me today are the number of people who are posting that they think he doesn't really have it, that this is a hoax, that in 2 or 3 days he's going to say, okay, I'm all cured because something cured me.
Well, and that addresses...
That's insanity.
But you know what, though? That addresses a lack of trust, not just in Mr. Trump, but in the entire Trump administration. And it's not just Democrats or liberals or whatever. I have seen that type of a narrative show up from people I would least expect it from. So you have a situation where a campaigning president, incumbent president for an election, is losing popularity overall with his own base. And when I read things like that, you kind of expect it from a certain segment of society, but you don't expect it from moderates. You don't expect it from his fellow Republicans. You don't expect it from libertarians. There are groups where you don't expect that to come out with, oh, he's just making the whole thing up. And then the various reasons behind it, so he can say how strong he is, or whatever, or to get out of the next debate. I mean, you pick your conspiracy. There's a ton of them out there. It's only been 10 hours, and there's like a whole slew of conspiracy theories on this. But it does, though, when you push all that aside, I think it shows just a lack of trust and a lack of faith, and that, I think, more than having unpopular ideas and more than having policies that seem to be to one side or the other, off the wall crazy, when you lose the trust, when you begin to lose the trust of your own base, that's very, very difficult to recover from.
Yep, and it's so sad. It's so sad. The direction that this has taken is just frightening to me. Frightening on our future on all counts, not just in the States, but in Europe, in Asia, everywhere. Yeah. It's the world it's not recognizable to me. No. It's not the one I grew up in.
It's not. I mean, there's so many things have changed. So many things have gotten away from their original agendas. But I think the most important thing that we need to remember is this is the president of the United States. He's got a potentially fatal disease. He's a high-risk person, and you say what you want about, karma or whatever is going on around out there, or here's a guy who said it didn't exist, and it doesn't. Now we are at a whole different paradigm. He has it. He's the leader of the free world, like him or not. I think we should wish him a recovery, because that really is the best. Him recovering from this, making a full and complete recovery, like him or not, is still going to be the best thing for our country during the end of a presidential election.
Correct. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Well,
you don't have to wish him the best, but you do have to wish a recovery.
Just recover. That doesn't speak to your politics. It doesn't speak to your ideologies. It just speaks to, this is the president of the United States, and he needs to, to be in full capacity as he possibly can be.
Al, I enjoyed talking to you, but I'm going to get off the phone and let some of your other callers call in.
We'll see if someone's going to call in. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a great day. Bye.
All right, you are listening to BoqueteNOW Talk Radio. We've been talking about the debate. We've been talking about the latest developments with Mr. Trump and him being positive for COVID-19 and how that's going to affect things. Do we think that it's going to affect the next debate? That question was answered by one person. There's only 2 weeks, I think, to the next debate, and quarantine is 2 weeks. So we got another caller.
Hi, it's Shannon.
Hey, how you doing, Doc?
Hey, not so bad. I have a kind of a comment and a question.
Sure, shoot.
Not
literally.
I was listening. No, not literally. I was listening to an interview with Chris Wallace this morning. He was on a news show this morning, and he mentioned some of the rules and regulations that were set out for the debate. And one of them was, all the spectators that came in had to use a mask. They had to have their temperatures taken. They had to use all the normal protocol, the alcohol spray and all that good stuff. Apparently, one side did use their masks inside, and they were saying that he's mentioned specifically Melania Trump and I guess his kids, Ivanka, and the others that were present at the debate. Once they got in and sat down, they took off their masks.
And this was an interview that was done with Quack. He would know. He'd be there.
He was there, and this was actually an interview on Fox and Friends.
Okay.
I had turned on Fox and Friends this morning, and I saw that he was on, so I thought it would be interesting to listen to the interview. And this was actually with Chris Wallace on Fox and Friends, and he was going through, and he said that was one of the things that kind of surprised him, because they came in, he didn't notice if they were wearing them when they walked into the building, but he assumed they were, but when they sat down, they no longer had the masks on. And he said one of the staff members went up and offered them masks in case they didn't happen to have a mask on them, and they declined.
Well,
so
and I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, because I think you would probably know a little more about these health protocols, but the debate was held at Case Western, their health education campus, their pavilion there, and from what I remember hearing in the million flurry of news reports that I get every day, is that the facility required everyone, with the exception of President Trump, Vice President Biden, and Mr. Wallace, to observe the biosecurity protocols, the physical distancing and the masks.
That was what Chris Wallace was saying. They were the only ones, the president and former Vice President Biden, as well as Chris Wallace, were the only ones that were authorized not to wear a mask for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But obviously not knowing that the president was positive at the time, otherwise I'm sure they would have required him to wear a mask or canceled the event.
Well, yeah, and you also had Hope Hicks there in the mix. And we were talking to the last person about this, that there's a whole slew of people now that are going to need to be contact traced and tested.
Right. They did mention that there was others that were being contact traced and tested, and actually I just saw flash up on my screen that they did test.
Did we lose you? I think we might have lost Shannon.
Away.
Oh, there she is. Go ahead. Sorry, we lost you for a second. So something popped up on your screen. What was it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that Barron Trump tested negative.
Okay, good.
When he was tested, it just popped up today. Of course, we don't know for sure because he's had close contact with obviously both of his parents, I'm sure, and he'll probably have to be retested.
Yeah, I'm sure as Mike Pence probably will, and his wife will probably have. I'm sure there's a few people that are going to have to be, retested. I'm sure you saw the graphic.
You don't know.
I'm sure you saw the graphic this morning that was posted everywhere about the list of 20 or 25 people that had traveled with Hope Hicks over the last 48 hours. So, when you start extrapolating that, it's like, that old TV commercial, she told two friends and so on and so on. It's,
exactly. And being in such close contact and not really promoting mask wearing, he never has, he never wanted to. You can be pretty sure that on the plane, probably most of them weren't wearing masks, and most of the people in contact with each other were not wearing masks at the time.
Now, as a physician, given Mr. Trump's age and his physical condition, the White House, the White House physician, had basically said that he is at a higher risk. And I've been hearing different numbers, 2%, 4%, 10%, whatever. What do you think? Obviously, you don't know him. You don't know his medical background. You're not giving a diagnosis. But just as an observation as a doctor, with someone who is male, who is over, in his 70s and clinically obese, is that something that we should be concerned about, or he should be concerned about more so than maybe the rest of us?
Definitely, and his medical team is going to have him under observation, and they're going to be constantly evaluating him because the more risk factors you have, obviously, the higher the chances are that you're going to have some kind of a complication. So he's already got at least two: his age and his weight. I think it was mentioned.
Yeah, we lost you again, but yeah, he's clinically obese. It doesn't matter what he says or what he says his weight was, but there are very specific medical definitions of what overweight and obese is. Correct? Yeah, I think we lost her. Well, that was Dr. Shannon Tour. She's a friend of the show. She's got a show, by the way, called Talk to Your Doctor. Tomorrow, I think Saturday, 10 o'clock in the morning. So don't forget to tune into her. We have another call, Bolivar?
We have another call.
All right. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi. Yeah, I think we lost him.
We lost him.
That was Dr. Shannon Tours.
Okay, all right.
Try to hear us from the phone, please.
Okay, I'm holding the phone. No problem.
we got a caller?
Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
That was Dr. Shannon. Okay, all right.
I think we got a bit of a delay.
Try to hear us from the phone, please. Okay, I'm here.
Okay, you there? What do you want to talk about? You're live.
Thank you. I'm doing fine.
I feel a bit like Chris Wallace. I think we got.
I was just going to respond now.
Oh, okay.
I was going to respond to your business about the debate.
Yes.
The whole idea of the debate is to convince the voters that are not yet convinced to vote for one of the candidates.
Absolutely. I don't think that.
And so the idea is that you really don't care about the issues. You really want to come out with an emotional presentation. It's you're going to win them on their emotions. And so I think that President Trump came across as a powerful father figure, rough and tough, and probably did win the debate, if you want to call it a win-lose.
Well, if you're looking at it from that point of view, and it's a valid point of view, everyone watches debates for, for different reasons. I watch
because you brought up high school debates and other debates,
Sure,
and there
yeah.
very clearly you have to listen and you debate the
Yes.
issue and you win on the basis
Yes.
of logic. But logic is going to control these presidential debates.
Yeah, and if you are undecided, depending, I guess, on which way you lean, you might have been convinced one way or the other on an emotional level, and I understand that. To a degree, that is very true. We're emotional people. It doesn't matter, what side you're on. We do respond to emotions, and as many people that might have gotten upset. Or even further away from Mr. Trump because of the way he behaved, there is going to be a group of people who that appeals to, and who said, and so I think you make a good point there. You do have an emotional response, and if someone is looking for that type of who was hoping for or is moved politically by that type of a response. Then he hit it out of the park. He did his thing, right? He did his thing, and he rolled his sleeves up. People have called him the Bronx Bomber. I'm from New York City. I know what that term means very well, and that can be very comforting to some people. So you make a pretty good point there, man.
Well, I think he came across as a strong father figure, and his opponent was kind of weak actually. And so anyway, that's how I saw it. As to the COVID-19 business, I think, he's got a very strong immune system, and I wouldn't be too worried about him. He's got probably more observation going on him than the stock market.
I'm guessing he's probably got a pretty good team of doctors working on him.
I don't think he's going to be able to go and take a leak without having a lot of supervision. So anyway, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I had to say, Al. Good luck. A great program. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your call, man. Very much. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. You're listening to BoqueteNOW Talk Radio on Radio Cherokee 103.3 FM. We were going to be originally talking just about the debate, but last night, as we know by now, everybody knows by now, that President Trump and his and the First Lady Melania ended up being tested positive for COVID-19, and this has thrown a monkey wrench into many things. And like I said, I don't think it really matters what side of the aisle you're on. The rest of the election is going to be affected in many ways, from debate schedules to policy meetings and what have you. I know that the news has reported several things. He's working from the White House, which I'm sure he is. Like the last caller said, his physicians have said that despite his age and his weight, he has a very strong immune system. He's generally in very good condition for someone in their 70s. But there's a lot happening here. There's a lot to unpack, and we can't really do it in an hour show. And maybe we'll just have a continuation at another time, depending on what happens. But I think it's really important for all of us to understand a couple of things that, again, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but whether you like him or not, the office of the President of the United States is one of extreme global influence. And if the worst should happen, or almost the worst, even if he ends up in the hospital on a ventilator or loses his life, this is not going to be good for anybody. It's not going to be good for, I don't care how far to the left and liberal you are, or how far to the right conservative you are, or if you're a Green Party member, or if you're a libertarian, or if you're an independent. It doesn't really matter, because this goes beyond the man sitting behind that desk. This concerns the office of the president, and it would really behoove all of us to really wish the man a speedy recovery, even if you don't like him. Because at this point in the game, and this point in the election process, it would not be a good thing to have the person, again, like him or not, who's the leader of the free world, to be incapacitated as and I'm sorry, I don't think, again, I keep saying like him or not, because these things kind of transcend politics. I don't really think that the vice president would be a really good person to step into that role at this point. And that's not my opinion on his politics. That's just my observation on his general, just his general personality. Again, it's an emotional response. I totally understand that, but we want to see the system work, and we know that in many cases the system is broken. Again, it's been compared to a dumpster fire, to a train wreck, but we can't lose faith in the democratic process. All the talk about Trump not wanting to leave the office, we're to the point now where it would really be good for us to see past that and concentrate on moving forward into what's next. The question of who won the debate, that's a subjective question. Obviously, if you are in Biden's camp, you're going to think that Biden won the debate, and you'll have a whole list of reasons as to why Biden won the debate. As our last caller represented, if you're in Trump's camp, you're going to have a whole lot of reasons why Trump won the debate. There are questions about what was true and what was not true. I have not been to a debate. I've been to many debates, and I've not been to one yet where everything that was said by anybody behind any podium was 100% true. Was the debate good or not? Personally, I don't think it was good. I didn't get what I wanted to out of it. I didn't get what I was expecting. I had unfulfilled expectations when it came to what I wanted. Will I watch the next debate? Yeah, I'll watch the next debate. I watch all the debates. I'm a news hound. That's just, you ask my wife, what is Al doing? He's got something on with news. And that's just because I've been in the business, for a very, very long time. But the development of this disease now being part of President Trump and his cabinet, or some very high level people in his cabinet, kind of changes the game. It kind of forces you to make a decision. Are you going to remain critical of whoever you don't like? Are you going to continue to put things out on social media wishing that the president would drop dead, or that something would happen, that Biden would get COVID or something? There's a lot at stake here, and I think my personal opinion on the matter would be, let's try to wade through all of the junk that's out there and look to what is going to happen when that office of the president is filled in January. Obviously, there's a lot can happen between the decision in this year's election through the lame duck Congress and all that, and that's a whole other show. But we've got a few minutes left, so if you want to call, I'll give you 2 minutes. 6729-5729. Again, we're running out of time here, and I've done talk radio for many, many years, and my shows used to be 3 hours long. And when you say, it's a long time, trust me, in radio it goes by very, very quickly. We've had a few calls today. I was kind of hoping we'd have a few more, but that's fine. I understand. It's a little different. When you're typing on your phone or behind your keyboard, you have a certain sense of anonymity. Nobody can hear you. People might not know who you are. And I know that being live on the radio can be daunting for some people. So I want to thank the people who actually did call in today. And to those of you who are listening, I'm going to be following up on all of this. And I think I just got an invitation from, let me go here really quick because we're running out of time. I upgraded my iPhone to the new operating system, and as funny as it may sound, it's a little confusing. Okay, here. Shannon has her show coming up tomorrow, Talk with Your Doctor, and she has said, hey, come back on the show on Saturday. We can do an extension of the topic, both masks and debate. Well, Shannon, if you're listening, send me a message. Do you mean tomorrow or do you mean next Saturday? It will be fun. I'd love to. We had a great time on her show last time I was on. We talked about a lot of really, really interesting topics. So anyway, well, it's 10:58. I think we're pretty much out of time for any more calls. We've been talking about the debate. We've been talking about the Trump families. I guess now they're having to deal with COVID-19. We've talked about several things. There were several things I would have liked to have gotten to, but maybe we can continue this next week. Maybe we'll do a show next week on the vice presidential debate. Who knows? But I just heard back from Shannon, so that's tomorrow. So I will be joining Shannon tomorrow at 10 o'clock on Talk with Your Doctor. So maybe we can continue this. And my friend Mike just sent me a text that he's on the way with my steak. Yes! Anyway, you've been listening to BoqueteNOW Talk Radio on Radio Cherokee 103.3 FM. The show is graciously sponsored by Big Daddy's Grill, Boulder 54 in the Tap Out Sport Zone. And I implore you, please get over there. Call them, make a reservation, go eat some food, hang out responsibly with your friends, and enjoy yourselves. This has been, again, BoqueteNOW. I'm Al Stefanelli. I want to thank you for your time and attention. And if you tune in tomorrow to Dr. Shannon's show, I'll be back on with her. In the meantime, pasen buen día. Gracias, mi amigos, mi amigas, hermanos, hermanas.